You mentioned Nazem Bryan had an excellent season, obviously, in junior. Do you think it's premature, some people talking about him joining the team next year, and what would inhibit that happening?
Well, it's not premature because it's what you guys do. Like that's part of the job. It's like all this debate about the Kessel deal. Was it worth it? Was it not worth it? I find it amusing. Like, I got news for you. We're all going to know at some point. This is no different than two farmers side by side arguing whether they plant soybeans or corn. And they argue that one guy plants corn and one guy plants soybeans. Guess what? We're going to know at some point who won. We don't have to argue the whole time while the plants grow, for God's sake. We're going to be able to tell. You'll all have an answer on this. But in the meantime, you dissect it to death. It's too much. It's not enough. And I'm amused by it more than angered by it. So to me, if you go back and look, our thought process on, and you didn't ask about this, so I don't know why I'm jumping down your throat.
It's entertaining, though.
We add to our roster, right? So you imagine you open the cupboard, what's on the shelves? We add Tyler Bozak, Christian Hansen, Jonas Gustafsson, Nazem Kadri. Okay, now we say we could get a chance to add Phil Kessel. So with those assets there, we're going to expend 3 draft picks to get them. Makes sense to us. Whether it's too much, you'll all be able to evaluate that down the road. In the meantime, the endless dissection of it is humorous. I mean, we've given the talk radio guys and TV guys in Toronto, they all got contract extensions. So, the thing with Nazem is he's got to come in and make the team in the fall. Would we all like him to make it? Sure. Means you've been right on a pick. He's had a tremendous year. He's a great kid. We'd all love him to make it. He's got to come in and do it. So I have no idea. You ask me, is he a lock? Of course he's not a lock. Does he have a good chance? Of course he has a good chance. What happens between now and when he gets off the bus at training camp is going to determine whether he makes their team or not. Not how he does in a series against London. It's how he prepares for this. He's had a great year. Now he's got to see if he can translate that to the next level.
With respect to Kadri, the potential for him next year hasn't been so much media generated. Ron Wilson has come out several times and connected him with Phil Kessel, thereby implying he'd be your number 1 center next year. That's where maybe people think it's a bit premature.
And it is premature. And I've read Ronnie's comments, and he actually, if you watch, he's pretty careful how he couches it. He says, in my mind's eye, or in an ideal. He hasn't come out and said that's going to be what we do, because he can't. He'll get to pick the team at the end of camp. That's why it's not, if you see the coach talking and you think, geez, he's talking like he's a GM. We are different here. My teams are different. Randy Carlyle picked our team in Anaheim. Mark Crawford picked our team in Vancouver. That's, to me, if I'm going to fire the coach because he can't win, then I better let him pick who's on the bench. So I've always done it that way. And so if you read Ronnie's comments and say, geez, he's talking like he's a GM instead of the coach, there's some merit to it in this case, in this scenario. But even if you read his words, he's couched it pretty carefully. This is up to the player. We can wish him to make the team. We can hope for him to make the team. We can predict he's going to make the team. He's got to make the team. And you can send him back to junior for another year, and the contract slides a year. So there's a real attractive option to not keeping him, which is you stockpile him and slide him for a year. So that's what these teams... That's their option going in. So he's got to come in and be big enough where I say that outcome's better than this outcome, which is pretty goddamn good, which is we save his rights for a year and send him back.
Is the AHL an option for him next year?
I haven't checked his birth date. Someone asked me that the other day. That's not something we're talking about. Really, we want Nazem to have the right feedback, which is come in and make the team. But is he a lock? Hell no.
We talk about a couple of wild cards like Keith Ollie, Gary D'Amigo, DiDomenico. There's some dark horses that might come to play down the road.
Well, DiDomenico missed a good chunk of the year, almost virtually the entire season, and went in and had some good playoff success. He's a slippery, greasy guy. As a player, he kind of gets through seams, and he'll pay a horrible price to score goals, which is a great trait. But he's still. He overcame a badly shattered femur. This is an injury that most people don't walk after, let alone play hockey after. So what he's done already is remarkable. He's a ways away. Same with Ollie. Ollie was we wouldn't have done the Calgary trade without Keith Ollie being in the deal. when I met with him after the trade, I said, there aren't many 20-year-olds that can say that. But you can say that. We wouldn't have done this deal unless you were in the trade. Then he blew out his shoulder and missed a good chunk of the year. So he's like Komisarek, on schedule. Range of motion's good. They're happy with his progress. But he's, well, this is a guy we think is going to play in the NHL for a long time. But whether he'll be ready coming out of camp, I don't know. D'Amigo just finished his first year at RPI. Had a great World Junior. We have no plans to take him out of RPI or do anything with him, but leave him there right now.
Brian, you made no secret of how impatient you were to make this team better fast in the beginning, and now coming into what you call a watershed summer, you've got kind of a weak rating class, you're not at the top of the draft. Do you feel like you're not playing kind of with a full toolbox right now?
No, I'm not, as I said to you guys a year ago, I'm not interested, wasn't interested, I'm still not in a 5-year rebuild like some of these teams have done. Maybe because of my age, maybe just because I know it doesn't have to be 5 years because it wasn't in Anaheim. No, I don't feel impatient at all. I like the group that finished the year. I think it's just on internal improvement. We will be better. I think it's good enough. This seems to get Lance upset, but I think we'll be good enough with this group and a couple additions to say in training camp that the playoffs are a reasonable goal. But no, we need to add to that group if we can. I'm impatient all the time. I'm impatient when I get up. So, but as far as the hand of cards I've been dealt, this is a cap system. It's all predictable. So if a guy signs, you think, okay, they can get this guy, and then he signs a 4-year deal with every team, and you say, oh Christ, there's another guy they can't get. Well, I'll show you someday our list of guys we thought would get to July 1st, and it's going to be pretty close to accurate on which teams we felt teams would feel they needed to sign. So, but for every guy they sign a guy, you sign a guy who's going to be unrestricted. Right away, all that cap space is gone. And so now there might be a guy we actually like better on that team that they've got to move if they want to do anything on July 1st. So it's a big chessboard, and as each piece moves, it affects where the other pieces can go. But I think we'll be able to accomplish our goal.
Do you see a situation or a scenario where the cap system is so important that you can land a grade A player for virtually no return of players just by taking down the contract?
Yeah. It hasn't happened yet, but I could see that. The closest thing to that would be the Malakhov deal, where San Jose early on in the system picked up a first-round pick for taking money. That's the closest that's come. But yes, I think it'll come to that.